pictures. I know. Okay.
So what we're talking about as far as purchasing a new saddle, the biggest thing that you run into on saddles that way is the customers are looking for the fit to the horse, fit to the rider, and then the cost of the saddle that way. Mm-hmm. What they usually avoid is the safety aspect of the saddle. So I'll say to the customer, what type of horse do you have, stuff like that, what's your budget? Ideally, if I say to a customer, what type of saddle tree do you have? They'll say, oh, it's full quarter horse bars or semi-quarter horse bars, it's a wide or a medium. They have no idea what the actual material of the saddle, the tree inside the saddle is made of that way. Mm-hmm. So ideally, you're doing the lesson programs, you're doing stuff like that. You're now leasing a horse, the trainer says, now you're ready to go buy your own saddle. What ends up happening is that they usually go not to a brick and mortar store, they go online, they type into Google Western saddle, and then they pick out the nice saddle with the turquoise seat and the butterfly.
Yep.
No judgment. Great, but safety-wise, they're not always the best saddles. So ideally, if you're at the tack sale or at the shop, you're going to flip these upside down. You're going to try and shine a light in there to find out what material that actual saddle tree is made out of. And like I showed the bare trees over there that way, some of them are made out of fiberglass that are hollow, which I'm not a big fan of for safety reasons because they can break and the way the riggings are put on them and stuff like that.
Which looks like it is fiberglass, right?
Nope, this one's actually rawhide. This is synthetic material, and I'd have to grab that tree and we can get a better
I guess, you know what? Whenever I see that color,
tree in it.
I just assumed it was fiberglass.
Nope.
So it actually has a nice tree.
By the weight of it. Okay. Most some other ones weigh anywhere from probably 12 to 18 pounds.
Okay.
So we're going to look at that. Then we're going to try and look at the condition of what these rigging rings are in. And stuff like that. We're looking for any wear, any marks that way on it. This one here is put in with screws.
And screws are not ideal.
Screws would be fine that way.
Okay.
Yep. And these ones actually have washers on them, which helps, so that's not going to pull over the top of the nylon that way. This one looks like an old bighorn.
It's an Abeta, but it's an old one. So maybe back when they had...
the newer ones all have that hollow fiberglass tree.
Okay. So sometimes older is better.
Yeah, definitely that way. So
versus buying something brand new off the internet, an old one is sometimes better quality material.
Then you're going to check your stirrup leathers, looking for wear or marks that way. And then the one thing that I notice on all your saddles,
I pull them off on purpose. Because I don't let them use the stirrups off. They don't use their stirrups, but I'm actually going to start taking the fenders off.
So then you need to take the fenders off. And the reason being is liability-wise, you're going to have a kid either get a leg hooked through the fender or hooked on the stirrup that way.
Do you have a trick for, so the reason some of my saddles I've already pulled the fenders off.
Yeah.
I have a hard time getting the fenders back in. Is there a trick? Can I leave a tab in there? Or?
You can. Sometimes people run a piece of lacing through there or boot springs.
That's kind of what I was thinking about.
Pull back through easier. But if you tip them upside down on your nice work table here, you ought to be able to get enough room to get your hand in there. Okay. Sometimes you might have to take this front screw out.
Which side do you, so when you're putting your fender back in, are you going, well, these ones are weird. I have some of the ones with Belvins, but which direction do you go to put it back in when you do it?
You're going to have to start on this side.
Okay.
Hopefully there's enough give on this one to pull these ones out. So as you can see, this one has got an actual space that's marked in there for that stirrup leather to go through. It does not go all the way up and over the tree.
That's kind of nice for putting back on. I'm sure it's not as safe or as sturdy. It is safe and sturdy?
It keeps your fender from sliding forward and back.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to feed that down through.
Yeah, you're making this look way easier than it was on the one I was trying. All right, it was a bighorn and I was trying to squish it. I'm sure you'll make it look easy because you're a pro. I just need to practice and
you're going to pull up
copy your techniques.
We're going to try and feed that all the way through.
But yes, I don't let anybody use stirrups for the first month or two that they ride.
Which is great, but
only if I take my fenders off.
You got to have the hobbles on there.
Or hobbles on, yes.
So once that's pulled through like so, then I'm going to feed it back down through the skirt. Put my hand in there because this one's got a staple there that I can see. Still not back through it.
I'm glad you struggled a little. Just a
Yeah,
little.
true.
Not
Yeah.
very much. What's your opinion on those? I mean, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to go out and buy the ones with the Belvin buckles, but in your opinion, if you were the maker of the saddle for the purpose of what I do, which is lots of riders changing, do you like the Belvin buckles on those or that type of buckle for the stirrup
I like
fender?
the Blevins buckles that way better.
Oh yeah, say that.
Blevins.
Blevins. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like, there's a lot of terminology in the Western world that I never have heard somebody that knows what they're saying say it. So it's like me trying to speak Spanish. I don't pronounce
Again,
things
is
correctly.
why you have those safety hovels on there. It's because the Blevins is a two-piece buckle, which means that slide could move up. You could lose that slide. The
Yeah.
post would fall out. You would lose your stirrups.
Right.
Where if you have the hobble strap on there,
Yeah, it's
it
not coming
still
off.
It doesn't come off. The other reason that you keep your hobble straps on there is because that's the mount side. That stirrup leather is going to stretch more without the hobble straps on there compared to your off side that you're
Yeah.
getting on and off of all.
If you're using the, if you
So
were using the
have
ground.
different lengths, yes,
Okay.
different lengths of stirrup leathers. So
Well, this saddle actually is much better built than I thought. I thought for sure this was a
needs
China-
good cleaning. No,
or India knockoff.
good cleaning.
Yes, I have lots of mildew.
And
In here.
the other thing you're going to look for on these, you're going to look at your tie straps and your off straps to see if these start wearing thin, which this one is wearing a little thin, just from being on that ring pulling back and forth.
Yeah.
And what you can do is if these are plenty long, you can actually cut that part off,
Oh, and just
fold it
move it
over
down.
again, and make new holes, and move it down.
That's a good savings technique.
So, yeah.
Now, I saw on a YouTube tutorial that this is not the proper way to do this. And I looked up how to do it. A couple of them I did like the lacing back
Right.
and doing it. I'm assuming this is not ideal like the rest of the people
Kind of
stated.
personal preference.
Oh,
way.
personal
It's
preference,
easier
okay.
To get them on and off.
Yes.
These you have to check, but that's one of them things where you should be checking this stuff every
Anyways.
time you ride.
Yeah.
And ideally, when you're cleaning the saddle, you want to be able to pull those fenders down so that you can clean well up over the stirrup leathers and everything that way.
Okay.
But yeah, they do make a different braiding that can go in them, so they don't loosen up. These ones can loosen up over.
I have noticed that the leather ones don't really, but I really prefer to do. I like nylon billets. I really don't like leather billet. Latigo.
What's your
The
reason
Latigo
for the
side.
Latigo that way?
It's
'Cause
sticky
hard to
and
pull.
cold and obnoxious.
So ideally, these ones are put on the way that they normally do it, with the rough side out.
Yeah.
If you want them to slide better, reverse this and put it so that the smooth side
Is
goes
where it's
against
sliding
the
against
buckles,
each other.
and you'll be able to pull the buckles up much easier.
I have learned that there are cheaper, thinner, right nylon, and I don't buy those. I got rid of them. And I have ones that they're thicker,
Yeah.
so I believe that they're safer, but I know that that's not always an indicator because my dad is a arborist. Just because a rope is thick does not mean that it is strong. So my assumption is that these are better quality nylon, but I don't actually know that.
It depends on what nylon they're using and the weave of them. Some of the thinner stuff that way, that's made out of the seatbelt nylon, is extremely strong. So,
Right.
yeah.
No, I think this is like Showman, the ones I had
Yeah.
that I got, and I was like,
That's a little
ooh,
weaker
yeah, I like that.
weave to them, and so yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have as much.
All right,
It's
next.
the other knock we were talking about.
Yes,
Before
I
we
watched
went through,
that
like,
on. It took me a ridiculous amount of time to
Yeah.
be able to do it.
And there's YouTube videos that show
Yes.
how to do that. These are the way we always tie flank or back cinch knots.
Okay. Nicole.
And again, you would be safety checking the tree.
Yeah, we can just take that off and hang it on put it on the shelf. Actually, this is the one you repaired a while ago. Like 3 years ago. I brought this one to you. Yes. So you actually have seen this saddle before. I remember I got it home and one staple popped out and I like, I don't know if it's safe, Jim. You're like, it's fine, Jessica. If you want to drive it all the way back up here.
Fiberglass wood tree, fiberglass wrapped. And you can kind of see that mesh material that way. It gives it a
Yeah.
different
Yeah,
look.
you want to look closely, hon?
Yep. The wood tree, that's solid, and then they wrap it in fiberglass. They do them also in rawhide.
Okay.
And then the newest thing that they do on some of them trees is they wrap them in Kevlar.
Oh.
This is stuff out of bulletproof
Yeah.
vests and bed liners of trucks and everything. So
So the wood fiberglass wraps, you feel like those are pretty good?
It's kind of depends on the area we're in the Midwest here, where it gets so cold.
Cold, not
there
so.
can be some issues with that fiberglass that way. That if
Okay.
the horse was to roll on it, stuff like that, it's cold out, they can break or crack.
Okay.
So, rigging rings on these. That's what they call a press rivet. Ideally, you want a solid copper rivet with a washer on them. So that's one thing, just economy-wise,
Yeah.
for them to save cost on these. They're doing press rivets. So these are all things that you just want to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just
Because those ones are okay quality right now. Like they're not pulling through. The
Yep.
leather's not
Everything
cracked.
seems fine on them.
Okay.
The other, those seats are wet, and so they can shrink up a little bit that way. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
I put another tack in it while I'm here.
Well, I figured when you told me it wasn't a big deal, I was like, well, if it was, he would have told me and I would have brought it back.
Let me see what's in there.
Ew.
A yellow jacket.
So that's the other thing you want to watch for is hornets and bees.
Oh my
Or
god.
nests that can be built in these.
We used this saddle. It was
Yeah.
used last week.
So you wouldn't think that would be that big a deal, but if you're riding and the thing was to
We
sting the
actually,
horse,
yeah, so the reason that's in there, I mean, they could get in there anytime. We killed a big nest out on one of the fences, and I've been seeing, now that it's gotten cold, I've been seeing like one slow one here,
Yeah.
one slow one there, but I haven't seen a lot. So that is sketchy.
It's disgusting.
I have seen, all sorts of different things.
I've seen the snakes and
Built
stuff
up
from
in-
down south. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nope. I
Hopefully
once
we'll
saw a
never
dead
have anything
snake.
like that.
Black widows. Besides being super dusty.
So, the other thing, to check the trees in these saddles, not the best ideal place to do it. If you're at a tack sale or you're looking
Yes,
to buy
when
a
you're
used
shopping.
one, you tip them saddles up on their nose or onto the horn. You put your weight on the back of the cantle, and you don't want any flex or anything like that in that tree.
Huh.
If they're broke, they're usually broke right through the narrowest part of the tree,
Okay.
and you'll see wrinkles in the seat or crease right here in them. That's something that usually can't be fixed once those trees break. So
That's very helpful.
So I saw it give a little bit at
it'll
what?
have just
at-
a smidge of
just
give
a
that
bit
way.
is okay.
And the flex trees will certainly have more give over the center of them that way. Do you have anything in a flex tree?
I don't.
You don't.
I know that they're not ideal, and I had one a long time ago, and I got rid of it. I'm tempted to try again because we've got horses with so many different shaped backs, but
Sure. It
But no, I
depends
haven't yet.
on how you're going to use them and what you're using them to ride for that way.
walk, trot, stop.
The misconception that I see a lot on the flex saddles is that people buy a flex tree saddle and then they think it's going to fit their narrow horse, their wide horse.
Yes, I hear that a lot too.
That's not the way that a flex tree, in my mind, works. They still have a solid pommel and a solid cantle that's
Right.
made out of wood,
Yeah.
and then they cover it either with fiberglass or Kevlar. Then there are 4-piece designed for the tree bars. And what that does is it gives them a little bit of flex through the center, but they flex diagonally across as the horse moves out.
Oh,
so they're
okay.
not as restricted as
Yeah.
through the
I mean,
shoulder.
I've always thought there has to be some benefits to them, right? Because there are.
They're not as rigid as what a solid
Right.
tree would be.
What a saddle is supposed to do to distribute.
It still distributes the weight of the rider that way, yep. And that's the thing too, that a lot of people go with the treeless saddles.
Yes, those are very
Stuff like that.
in.
And it can be a
right
huge
now.
issue depending on the rider. You know, how balanced that rider is, the weight of the rider,
Yeah.
the type of work that they're doing in it that way. Basically, you can either a glorified bareback pad do the fact you can be putting the same amount of pressure in the same area on a horse's back. on a
Right.
bareback pad or,
That's
Yeah.
what I always thought.
you know, so
The only ones I've really are familiar with are all the barrel racing ones. I know a lot of people about 5 years ago that started switching their barrel racing saddles to a Hilson or a whatever.
I know the Hilson treeless saddle.
Yeah.
I don't know about those.
No.
Well, that's good information. So this saddle is pretty good.
Yes.
Minus the
saddles
Hornet.
seems fine.
Minus the Hornet. Yeah, we gotta dig him out of there.
Take care of that. So ideally, again, tip them up on their sides. Try and look at the tree. This is a wood tree, fiberglass wrap. You can kind of see better on this one.
Go ahead and walk over there, Nicole. I want you to know what it looks like.
And again, I should probably get those other trees so I can show you guys. But that'd be And I understand when you're at a tax sale and stuff like that, people don't want them manhandling their saddles to tip them up. But ideally,
I mean, you can be kind of gentle about it.
you want to try and look at them as much as you can. The one issue that I see with this one that wouldn't seem like a big issue, the hobble straps need to be put on. This Blevins buckle slide is not the right slide that goes on there. So see how loose that is?
Yeah, it's driving me crazy. And the
So
stirrups,
every time you tip the saddle upside down or carry it, that can come off. And then without that hobble strap on there, you can lose your
yes.
stirrup.
Also, the whole time I bought this used, right?
Yep.
The fenders are uneven when they're on the same holes. It drives me
Because
bonkers.
they didn't use their hobble straps and they mounted from the ground on one side. So there's
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they probably did. We use a mounting block here. We almost never mount from the ground. Yes, it is. Better for their backs. But no, yeah, they did mount from the... Now that I'm thinking about who I bought it from.
You want to make sure you're trying to pull these down when you guys are cleaning your saddles, so that way you can oil and condition everything on these.
You know how to take those out?
The fenders?
Yeah.
Yes, I just suck at getting them back in, so...
Oh, okay. So
But yes.
For all of this, when you're like maintaining and cleaning your saddle, is there kind of like with like house cleaning? Is there like a quick clean in oil and then like a deep clean in oil? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I have 20 minutes. I gotta do this
Deep
really
cleaning
quick,
for a house.
right?
Yeah, when he does a deep cleaning, he rips... He has a couple different videos on there that are worth watching. He, rips the whole thing apart.
I take them apart and take the housings off.
Like,
Which is something that you don't need to do.
right.
Usually
I wouldn't... Well, I mean, yeah. I was going to say,
Leather-
I don't recommend anybody rips their saddle apart because none of us are qualified enough to put it back together.
The reason I pulled these ones off
then all the girls
I know.
is you can physically
see
see
the length.
the length of the mount side compared to the off side on these and how far they're off by. Go to half a hole.
Yes, I don't feel crazy anymore because we go to the chiropractor. So I was like, maybe my legs are crooked. And then it's been going on for a long time.
One hole.
And I was like, no, it really is
If you
different.
look, that would be the side that you get on. It's longer than your off side. So, the one way to fix this is to take these rivets out, slide this, and then cut it, but that's going to leave holes in here, which can make more of a weak spot that way. But you can shorten them up to match that way. I don't recommend people taking just a regular rotary hole punch and punching half holes and stuff like that.
No, because then it's weaker
Or just
too.
work on stretching that one out a little more so
To
it's
get on the
exactly
outside.
one hole.
What would be
Or
what would be a way to try to stretch the other one off out, but not on the saddle? Like, would I just get it
Get it
wet
wet.
and then step on it on a
And then
fence?
Put it over that gate.
Yeah.
Put the stirrup in it with the hobble on it, and step up and down on it, and hang on it.
And wait till until it dries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once it dries, it should match up pretty close.
Well, I guess the girls
But
are
for
gonna have a
now,
fun chore one.
You gotta know that your mount side one needs to be one hole higher than your offside one on this side.
That's good.
So. But I would recommend replacing them slides with a proper fitting one.
So how do I find the
I
proper?
probably have a set with me, hopefully.
Oh, I would be so excited.
Hopefully. Not positive, but
I've been in horses since I was 8 and I'm just turned 31. How old am I? I gotta think about this. Okay, thank you.
Wait till
And-
you get a few years older.
And I have a hard time shopping for things because of the type of brain I have. I don't remember the terminology or the name for stuff. I know what it looks like, right? And so I'll be like, all right, I really need the doodad that slides up on the...
thingamajig that
Yeah.
goes on the thing.
Yeah, so... Well, like, for example, this bridle, lots of the bridles lose their little metal doohickey that separates the throat latch from the regular part of your bridle, and then they get all twisted and wadded up. So I want to buy a new one for this one. This is a draft bridle, and I don't know what size, and I don't know what it's called. That's why I haven't gotten it
that
yet.
keeper
Keeper.
is missing on that one.
And then, so I'm assuming they're not sold on the internet. They're sold in like hardware terms. So I would just measure like this. Looks like an inch.
You have to check with your local shop.
Go to my hardware store.
No, more of a local fast shop. And what's it called?
That does not exist. Yes. And it's not very close.
You tried C&J?
There is C&J. I could call them and find out.
I like C&J.
They're nice,
Or
small.
you can have leather keepers made for it.
Well, that's a good idea.
Other ones work a little easier.
Actually, need to stop over here and see what they got for new.
Now that you'll have new skills on checking the trees and stuff while you're over there.